In today's lesson, we're at the airport. You've done your check-in, you've gone through security, and now you've arrived and you're looking for your gate. I'm going to help you understand that English you're going to hear when you go to the airport and you're going to your gate to wait for your airplane. The first thing you need to look for is that flight information display screen or the flight schedule screen. And this is where you're going to get all the information about your flight. Now these are different between different airports, but generally they have the same information. They have the flight destination, where you're going to. They have the flight number, the number of the airplane you're traveling with. They'll also have the flight company, like the airline company. It will have the time of departure, the time your flight leaves. And it will have your gate number, the area you need to go to wait for your flight. And depending on the size of the airport, the gate number will normally have a letter and a number. Now here's the important thing. They are also going to put up information about your flight. Here's some of the key information they normally put on the display screen. So the common words are on time, and that just means that right now your flight is arriving at the correct time. Delayed. Delayed means that it's late. If you see the word now and a time, that means that the flight is probably delayed, but they already have the new time for the flight, and so they're putting it up with the word now, which tells you, okay, they've changed it, so the new time and then the time itself. Cancelled. Cancelled means there's no more flight. The flight is stopped. Open. If you see the word open, that means that they have given your airplane a gate and you can go there now and wait to board your airplane. Boarding. Boarding means that you can go to the gate and now you can get on the plane. The doors to the airplane are open and you can board, which means to enter into the airplane. Final call. Final call means that the plane is basically ready. Everybody's on the plane. There are just maybe one or two passengers they're still waiting for. Closed. If there's the word closed, it means that the gate is now closed. That means that all the people have entered the airplane and they're getting ready for takeoff. Now, if you just see an empty space, there's nothing written there at all, it just means that you're early. It means that there's no information about your flight yet that they can put on the screen for you. We checked the information screen. We have the information now about our gate. Okay, we know where to find it. So the question now is, how do we get there? Well, depending on the airport, there are a few different ways we'll get around. The first way, of course, is to take an elevator. If we have to travel between different levels, we might also take an escalator. A common thing you'll see in most airports is the moving walkway. And that'll take you those long distances between the different gates. Okay, so you're moving around the airport. Now the question, what is there to do? When you get to the gates and the concourse, what do you do when you get there? Here are a few of the things you're going to find in most airports. Restaurants or eateries, cafes, bars. They're normally charging stations, so you can charge your telephone, you can charge your laptop, you can charge your tablets. You might find currency exchange if you're traveling internationally and you need to change money. ATMs, if you want to get some money from your bank. You'll also find lounges, and it's just a little bit more comfortable. It has more comfortable seating, you can get food and drinks. If you don't have time or you don't want to spend the money at a restaurant, you could also get some snacks and some drinks from a vending machine. Now remember, all of these things are before you get to your gate. So you'll normally find the concourse, like the big area with all of these restaurants and stores. That's normally in the center, and then you find that there are different sort of like access points that lead to the gates, and that's where you'll sit and wait for your airplane. Let's do a quick quiz, all connected to how you're going to get around the airport and what you're going to find when you get to the gates. I'll describe a situation and you tell me what you need to do or where you need to go. You need some money. Well, you can go to the ATM. Your phone battery is dead. You can find a charging station. You need to go down to a lower level in the airport. You could take an escalator or an elevator. You just want to buy a quick snack and a drink. You need to find a vending machine. If you enjoy the lesson, why not go to my website, mastereverydayenglish.com. There's an activity sheet there. It's completely free to download, and that's got some more vocabulary, some reading, some more information about going to an airport in the United States. We've made it through the concourse, and now we're on our way to our gate where we want to wait for our flight. So what sort of things can we expect when we get to the gate? Well, of course, you're going to find those information display screens. There'll be the airline counter. The airline counter is where you'll find the airline staff. So if you have any specific questions about the flight, you can go to the counter and you can ask them there. And behind the counter, you'll also find the door that opens onto the jet bridge or the boarding bridge, which is that sort of bridge that leads directly into the airplane. Okay, so we're at the gate. Now we are waiting, and this is an important part of your journey because you're waiting for an announcement. That means you're waiting for the airline staff to speak over the loudspeaker to give you information about the flight. So let's think about some of the vocabulary you can expect to hear in those announcements. Well, they'll talk about pre-boarding. Pre-boarding is normally only for people with disabilities, active military, people with young children, premium members, and what they call unaccompanied minors. Unaccompanied minors are normally children who are traveling without their parents. You might also have priority boarding. Priority boarding is normally people who've paid extra so that they can get onto the airplane before other passengers. This might include first class or business class passengers. Then you have your standard boarding groups. And this is normally economy and basic economy. And most of the time, the airline will have you enter the airplane in groups, kind of depending on where you are in the airplane. So those are the things you'll hear announced, the different boarding groups. And of course, when you hear your group, you then get up and you go and you wait in line with the other people to enter into the airplane. Some of the other things you can expect to hear the airline staff announce at the gate are things like delays. So if there's been any problem with maybe with the weather or with the changeover of the staff for the airplane, they'll tell you if there's a delay, a cancellation. So if something is seriously wrong with the plane, maybe there's a mechanical problem, or if there's like really bad, what they call inclement weather, inclement meaning like really bad weather, then they might cancel the flight completely. And as we said before, most of the time you'll hear the boarding calls. So it'll be pre-boarding, priority boarding, final boarding, and you might also hear what they call a final call. So this will be when somebody's late and they're basically giving a final call to say, hey, come on, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you really need to get here now because we're closing the doors and we're going. So that's basically the information you're going to hear announced while you're waiting at the gate. So now let's practice. You're going to hear some announcements, the common announcements that you hear at gates in the United States. I want you to listen carefully and then try to answer the question. After a few moments, I'll give you the answer and you can check.
All passengers traveling on Flight 744 to Denver now boarding at Gate 7. All passengers traveling on Flight 744 to Denver now boarding at Gate 7. Ladies and gentlemen, United Flight 1017 to Calgary has been delayed by 1 hour due to a technical issue. Passengers are advised to make their way to Gate 34 and await boarding instructions. Ladies and gentlemen, United Flight 1017 to Calgary has been delayed by 1 hour due to a technical issue. Passengers are advised to make their way to Gate 34 and await boarding instructions. Good afternoon, passengers. This is the pre-boarding announcement for Flight 89B to Rome. We are now inviting those passengers with small children and any passengers requiring special assistance to begin boarding. Regular boarding will begin in approximately 10 minutes' time. Good afternoon, passengers. This is the pre-boarding announcement for Flight 89B to Rome. We are now inviting those passengers with small children and any passengers requiring special assistance to begin boarding. Regular boarding will begin in approximately 10 minutes' time.
That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope this is useful for you if you're going to the airport and you're a little bit worried about the kind of English you're going to see and hear when you're going to the gates to wait for your flight. If you enjoyed the lesson, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and click to subscribe.